recording. Obviously, Bailey's coming to us live from Paris, France, inside the Olympic Village. And so we were talking about, training and being very, the same. You're doing the same amount of training, everything that somebody that would not be in the adaptive stage. So the one question I want to ask you, though, is from name, image, and likeness. Has that transferred over to the adaptive side or the wheelchair side as it has within the NCAA portion of it?
So NIL is such an interesting thing because there's a lot of it is still being people are trying to figure it out. So nobody really knows exactly how it works or how to do it or how to be successful at it. And also like what kinds of regulations need to be around it. There's just a lot of things up in the air and questions. And so what a lot of colleges are doing is giving their athletes training or resources and opportunities to then get involved with brands. We don't necessarily have all of those resources, but a lot of NIL is also just pitching yourself to brands and going out there and being like, I really like your product. Let me promote it on social media and seeing what they say. So it is a hustle job. Unless you're like the tip top athlete of the football team or the basketball team, you're kind of hustling to get your NIL deals. And so as a para athlete, I think there is an open door there for if people want to support para athletics, that's the way to do it, is to sign a para athlete to an NIL deal and let them promote that themselves. I think the story is there and the opportunity is there. It's just getting brands to see that and want that. And so I think with the Paralympics, we've seen a lot of that. You don't necessarily see it necessarily at a collegiate, like para-collegiate level yet. But we definitely see it at the Paralympic level for sure. And at the Olympic and Paralympic level, that equality in that NIL being seen, trying to get it to trickle down a little collegiately.
It's been amazing. I mean, this is probably the first Olympics that I've seen where Peacock and NBC and a lot of the corporate sponsors have para athletes interwoven into the marketing and interwoven to the commercials. I don't personally ever remember seeing that. If I did, it wasn't as profound, or if it wasn't as prominent as it has been this year, which I think is awesome. And it keeps your mind going. For one, I mean, when I started seeing it at the beginning of the Olympics, it kept me thinking, well, that's right, the Paralympics are after the Olympic Games.
I think that's what we've been seeing. So in the past, there has been basically no Paralympic media presence before, like while the Olympics are going on. So then the Paralympics come and that's when all of the commercials are starting and that's when all the things are happening and it's too late. Whereas this year, I think we've seen more of the Paralympic like marketing being woven in with the Olympic marketing, and also like during the Olympics, people being like, the Paralympics are coming, the Paralympics are coming, like it's not over yet. And so I think marketing that during the Olympics was hugely beneficial and something they haven't done before. And having like the Paralympic logo right next to the Olympic logo in all marketing has been very, very hugely successful in the Paralympic movement.
I was shocked, to be honest. I was shocked watching, the first day essentially of the Paralympics and the amount of coverage that Peacock had. It was absolutely no different than during the Olympic Games. I mean, there was, they had the 4 screens up, they had the gold zone, they had all that going, which again, super shocking to me because I don't ever remember that being the case in the past. I don't even remember being able to watch any of the Paralympics live. It was always kind of like taped shows and whatever it was. And obviously that's Tokyo was in itself kind of random, but I mean, how exciting is it for friends and family back home to have the opportunity to watch you play live in Paris?
It's super exciting. And Peacock did this for the Paralympics in Tokyo too, but there wasn't a lot of primetime coverage as well. And I think just the time change in Paris is a lot easier to follow everything than in Tokyo, because Tokyo was such a huge time change people were missing games, and games were being streamed in the middle of the night. And now, like, you get up, you have your morning cup of coffee, and you watch some Paralympics. And that's kind of how the Olympics were too. So it works out a little bit better that way too, just with location.
That was for me 100% same thing. I get up. I'm an early riser. I'm a 5 o'clock in the morning or so kind of person. So I'm watching things almost, in prime time over there or whatever. It was pretty exciting. So what's next for you? You got the games. Obviously, you're trying to win a medal. You're going to grad school. What is the long-term future for Bailey Moody? What do you want to do as a career?
So I'm super interested in the field of sports psychology. I love studying the mental side of performance and what it takes to perform at your best, how to consistently perform at your best, and also just like staying mentally healthy and fit within sport and outside of sport. So the idea would be to do some sort of sports psychology there with athletes. But I also want to keep playing as long as I can. And LA is in my sights as well. And so training for that. I'm doing my master's in clinical counseling, so that's a 2 to 3 year program. So a lot of it's just still going to school and still playing basketball for the next like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. The prime age for a wheelchair basketball player where you're at your peak is in your late 20s, and people play into their 40s. So this career could be very long. God willing, my body holds up and my life is in a place where that's able to happen. But I don't see basketball ending anytime soon at the moment.
Well, let's get back on what you just mentioned you want to do. What is, for you personally, what do you do to work on the mental side of the sport?
I think meditation is a tactic and key in every person's daily life that should be utilized more. I love it. I love different breathing techniques. I love taking time to be in the present moment and practicing that. I think it's hugely beneficial for anxiety and stress regulation, as well as just being your best version of yourself. So I do a lot of that. I do a lot of just talking to people, talking to a sports psych myself, and working through those things, but also just um, taking time to recharge and making sure that your perspective is straight, and knowing that, basketball is big, but it's not everything, and understanding that and putting in its place so that then it can be fun and it can be something that you enjoy, and it can be something that you're doing because you love it and not because there's so much pressure on it.
That's awesome. What would be, now I'm going to put you on the spot, being a Paralympic athlete, being a collegiate athlete, what advice would you give to somebody coming into in a college or in the high school, the previous you, when you were growing up? Like what advice would you give to somebody?
I think I would say don't forget why you started, and don't forget that you started because you loved it. And once you lose the love, why are you still doing it? I think it's important that we don't lose the love of the sport so much that it becomes a job, because then we're not doing it for the reason that we started it in the first place. I think you got to have that love there, where there's not a reason to keep going and keep doing it.
That's awesome. That's pretty profound for a 20-something. I love it. I love it. And obviously, I can see, obviously, if you're listening to the version of it, Bailey's live from the Olympic Village in Paris, and it's kind of late over there, and she's out in the balcony, and it's getting a little
losing my daylight here.
Losing the daylight, losing things, because there is 5 hours ahead of time for us, and she's got a game tomorrow. So we're going to wrap things up. Bailey, thank you so much for joining the show. Where can they find you on social media, LinkedIn, Instagram, all those kind of things? How can somebody find you to talk about wheelchair basketball, or to, talk about being a Paralympic athlete? How do they get in touch?
my two main social medias that I've been doing while I'm here are TikTok and Instagram. They're both at the real Bailey Moody. So follow me there for just village fun and activities, but also some updates on games and stuff. That's my main jam is TikTok and Instagram. So drop me a follow and you'll see some good village content.
That's awesome. We're going to tag Bailey on some of the clips that we'll be putting together on Instagram and LinkedIn and so forth, so you can follow her as well. Bailey, thank you for joining Just.A. Hey, remember, subscribe, like, comment, and please share. Bailey's actually, we've had David Blair on, who is a Paralympic discus thrower. We've had one of the national team coaches, Chris Mack. Now Bailey Moody. Man, share this. Let as many people know about Paralympics. And, I'll give a shameless plug to Peacock. Watch as much as you can. Bailey, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was fun.
We appreciate it. Have a great one and be blessed.